This plant is a spruce. It's about 5 years old and we bought it in a garden center for $20.
In this movie, I'll show you how to create a bonsai from this plant. After pruning, wiring and repotting, this was the result. The tools we will be using include a chopstick, a wire cutter and a twig shear. When pruning larger branches, we'll use a concave cutter. If you're just starting out though, feel free to use any standard pruning shears instead. We will also use pre-mixed bonsai soil, wire and a pot. All these are available at specialized bonsai nurseries or on our website.
Alright, let's get started. We removed the top layer of soil so we can see where the first roots appear. We carefully lift the tree from its pot and remove loose soil using chopsticks. Revealing the surface roots by removing the top layer of soil is an important factor in deciding on the front of the tree. And deciding on the front will help us make decisions on which branches to prune later on. Any dead branches, dangling growth or dead foliage is carefully removed using scissors. This basic cleaning will reveal the structure of the plant, another factor which is important when deciding on the front. Also remove any dead branches on the interior of the tree. Now that we have cleaned the tree and can see where the main roots appear, we can decide on the best front of the tree. We also take into consideration the shape and taper of the trunk and the position of the main branches. This is the front we have selected. The next step is pruning. This is a creative process, not bound by strict rules, but the following guidelines will help you get started. Ideally, we want our first branches positioned at about 1/3 the height of the trunk. Prune branches positioned lower on the trunk. We also remove branches that cross the trunk line, especially those blocking our view on the front of the tree. We also prune heavy upward growth. Finally, we remove dangling growth to prepare for wiring.
Deciding on the design of a bonsai isn't always easy, especially when a tree is as full and overgrown as this plant. Try to apply the pruning guidelines we just mentioned to your own trees. And if you are interested to learn more about these techniques, consider enrolling in one of our online bonsai courses. Here, expert teachers explain the relevant techniques and you can ask them questions. For a free lesson, go to bonsaiempire.com/courses.
This tree is dense and we are pruning a lot of branches. Classic bonsai design usually starts with a main branch on the back of the tree, followed by branches on the sides of the tree. This pattern then continues up until the apex of the tree, with branches higher on the trunk gradually reducing in length. The front is the most open part of the tree, as we want to be able to see the trunk. You can safely prune up to 1/3 of your tree's foliage. At this point we have finished pruning the tree and work starts on wiring the branches. As you can see, the tree has two trunks. We start with wiring the smaller of the two, so we can bend it away from the main trunk and create a more open design. Because we cannot anchor the wire very well, we stick it in the root mass before wrapping around the trunk. Next, we wire the main branches, starting with the lower branches and slowly working our way up to the apex. Try to wire 2 branches with 1 piece of wire. Between these 2 branches, make sure to wrap the wire at least once around the trunk for stability. We aim to apply the wire at an angle of 45 degrees. The wire should be thick enough to hold the branch in the desired shape once we bend it. A rule of thumb is to use wire of about 1/3 to half the thickness of the branch you are wiring. Once you finish wiring the branches, you can start shaping them, moving your way up the trunk towards the apex of the tree. We prepare the bonsai pot before we start repotting. A bonsai pot should have at least 1 drainage hole. We attach a mesh to cover this hole with a short piece of wire.
Right now it is early spring, which is the best time to repot most bonsai. If you are trying these techniques out for the first time, it might be safer to wait with repotting until the next early spring. This will allow the tree to recover from the pruning and wiring and ensure it regains vigor and stays healthy.
We also prepare a long wire, in this case through both drainage holes, which will be used to attach the tree to the pot. Next, we untangle the roots carefully using chopsticks. Work your way from the bottom to the sides of the root mass. Using scissors, we prune long roots. We can prune up to 1/3 of the roots if needed. Next, we add some soil in the pot. Place the tree slightly off-center in the pot, keeping in mind its front and the most beautiful angle for displaying it. Once you are satisfied with the placement, attach the tree to the pot using the wire we prepared earlier. Now we add more soil. Use chopsticks to make sure all air pockets are filled with soil. The final step is to water your tree. Now that we are finished styling the tree, we place it in the shadow for about a month. Keep a close eye on the branches, as the wires might create ugly marks on the branches as they grow thicker. Usually, wires need to be removed in about 3 to 4 months' time.
Learn how to create your own bonsai trees by enrolling in one of our online bonsai courses. We explain techniques like pruning, wiring and repotting, and you can ask questions to the teachers. For the curriculums and free lessons, go to bonsaiempire.com/courses.